After being gone for 730 days, Staff Sergeant Marcus Hale finally stepped onto his hometown street, expecting peace and comfort. Instead, something felt wrong the moment he arrived. His house looked unfamiliar, the neighborhood strangely quiet, and a chill settled in his chest. Nothing matched the memories he carried through war. His home, his marriage, and even his child suddenly felt out of reach, as if they had been erased while he was away from his life. Marcus Hale had spent 2 years fighting in harsh, unforgiving conditions, leading his squad through missions that tested every part of him. He carried heavy responsibility, knowing each decision could mean life or death, but every night, when the world around him grew violent and uncertain, he grounded himself by thinking of his wife, Lena, and their young son, Micah. Their smiles lived in his memories like a promise. He imagined returning home to warmth, laughter, and the family he longed for. Through sandstorms, explosions, and endless patrols, the thought of them kept him steady, reminding him why he fought and what waited for him when the war was finally over, and how desperately he needed their love again today. As the months passed during his deployment, the messages from home began to fade. At first it was a missed call, then a delayed letter, and eventually whole weeks went by without a single word from Lena. Marcus tried to stay calm, telling himself the distance, stress, and unreliable connections were to blame. He convinced himself that nothing serious was wrong, that his family was simply busy or overwhelmed. But deep inside, uneasiness grew. Each silent day felt heavier than the last, and he could not escape the feeling that something important was shifting far beyond his reach. Right now, when his deployment finally ended, Marcus decided not to tell anyone he was coming home. He wanted the moment to be unforgettable, a surprise reunion filled with joy and relief. He pictured Micah running toward him, laughing, and Lena crying as she wrapped her arms around him. After everything he had endured, he believed this moment would heal the pain of war. With a heart full of hope, he boarded his flight home, eager to reclaim the life he missed. When Marcus stepped onto his old street, something felt off. The trees were the same, but the atmosphere was unfamiliar, almost hollow. As he approached his house, his breath caught. The paint color had changed, the yard looked different, and the mailbox carried a name he had never seen before. Confusion tightened his chest as he walked closer, hoping there had been some mistake. The curtains were new, the decorations unfamiliar. Every step he took made his heart pound harder. Nothing resembled the home he had left behind, and dread slowly crept into his thoughts as he reached the door. A tall, stern-looking man opened the door, staring at Marcus as if he were an intruder. There was no warmth, no recognition, only irritation. Marcus introduced himself and asked for Lena, but the man crossed his arms and replied bluntly, "She doesn't live here anymore." His tone made it clear he didn't care who Marcus was. When Marcus explained the house was his, the man shrugged and said it had been sold months earlier. No apology, no explanation. Every word felt like a punch. Marcus tried to ask where Lena and Micah had gone, but the stranger grew colder, insisting he knew nothing and had no interest in helping. The conversation felt wrong, rehearsed, almost guarded. Marcus stepped back, realizing the life he cherished had been dismantled without a single warning. Something deeper, darker, had happened here, and he could feel the truth closing in on him right now. Here, Marcus drove from house to house, desperate for someone who could explain what had happened while he was gone. He visited relatives first, but most of them avoided eye contact or claimed they didn't know the details. Old friends acted nervous, offering short answers and uneasy smiles. Every conversation felt like a dead end, and the silence around him grew heavier. The more people avoided him, the more certain he became that everyone knew something he didn't. He felt frustration building in his chest, mixing with fear and confusion. With each passing hour, the truth felt closer, yet painfully out of reach. Marcus refused to stop searching until he found someone willing to speak honestly. Finally, Marcus arrived at the home of Lena's cousin, someone he believed would at least acknowledge what was happening. When she opened the door, her expression tightened, as if she had been expecting him. After a long pause, she invited him inside and sat nervously at the kitchen table. Marcus demanded answers, and this time, there was no escape. She admitted that Lena had left months ago and was now married to a wealthy businessman named Trevor. He felt the words strike like a physical blow. The cousin explained that Lena believed Marcus might never return and feared raising Micah alone. Marcus's jaw clenched, devastation running through him. Yet one question overshadowed everything. Where was his son? He leaned forward, voice breaking, demanding to know what happened to Micah. The cousin hesitated, bracing herself to reveal something far worse. With trembling hands, Lena's cousin revealed the truth Marcus feared most. Lena had not taken Micah with her when she left. She claimed she couldn't handle the pressure of being a single mother and believed Trevor didn't want the responsibility of raising another man's child. Instead of finding proper help or contacting family, Lena walked away, leaving Micah behind. A neighbor had noticed the little boy crying alone on the porch and took him in for safety. Marcus felt the world spin, guilt crashing over him as he imagined his son abandoned and confused. His heart pounded with urgency as he stood abruptly, desperate to reach Micah as quickly as possible. Without another word, he raced out the door, determined to find his child and terrified of what emotional damage he might discover when he finally saw him. Marcus arrived at the neighbor's house breathless, barely able to knock before the door opened. The woman greeted him kindly, recognizing him instantly from the photos Micah kept close. She stepped aside and called for the boy. Micah appeared slowly, clutching a worn blanket, his eyes tired and distant. When he saw Marcus, he froze, unsure if the moment was real. Then, as recognition filled his face, he broke into tears and ran forward, throwing his arms around his father. Marcus held him tightly, feeling Micah's small body tremble in his arms. The relief was overwhelming, but so was the pain of seeing how withdrawn and frightened his son had become. He whispered reassurance, promising he would never leave again. Though Micah was safe now, the emotional scars were clear, and Marcus knew this reunion was only the beginning of their healing. Once Micah was settled, Marcus began reaching out to Lena, demanding an explanation. Her voice over the phone was cold, distant, and filled with excuses. She claimed she had done what she had to do, and insisted Marcus couldn't understand because he left them behind. Trevor eventually joined the call, his tone arrogant and dismissive. He mocked Marcus's long deployment and suggested Lena deserved someone who was actually present. Every word deepened the anger inside Marcus, but it also revealed something more sinister. Trevor hinted that he had guided many of Lena's decisions, subtly manipulating her fears. Marcus realized this wasn't just abandonment, it was influence, pressure, and control. And he needed proof. Determined to understand the full truth, Marcus searched through old accounts, backups, and shared files he still had access to. What he found confirmed his suspicions. Dozens of messages from Trevor to Lena revealed a pattern of manipulation. Trevor played on her insecurities, telling her Marcus cared more about the military than his family, suggesting he might never return alive, and insisting she needed someone stable. Some messages were harsher, filled with cruel comments about Marcus's dedication to service, implying it made him unreliable and unworthy. The more Marcus read, the clearer it became that Trevor systematically pushed Lena to abandon her marriage. He had twisted her weaknesses, making her believe starting a new life without Marcus was the only safe choice. The betrayal ran deeper than he imagined, fueling Marcus's resolve to fight for Mika's safety and future. With mounting evidence and growing concern for Mika's well-being, Marcus filed for full custody. He knew the process would be difficult, but protecting his son mattered more than anything. In court, Trevor arrived confident and composed, acting as though victory was guaranteed. His expensive suit and smug attitude suggested he believed money and influence would secure the outcome. Lena appeared fragile and conflicted, avoiding Marcus's eyes, clearly torn between guilt and Trevor's control. Marcus remained steady, presenting himself as a devoted father who had returned from war only to discover unimaginable betrayal. The courtroom felt tense, every argument sharpening the divide. As proceedings continued, it became clear the case would hinge not on assumptions, but on truth that Marcus was ready to expose, no matter how painful or complicated it became for everyone involved now. Mika's testimony became the emotional turning point of the entire case. When asked gentle questions, he spoke quietly but honestly, describing moments when he felt scared, ignored, and alone. He revealed that Trevor often dismissed him and that Lena rarely comforted him during those times. The courtroom fell silent as Micah explained how Trevor encouraged Lena to move on, and how he sometimes heard arguments about Marcus not returning. His small voice carried heartbreaking weight, revealing more than any adult testimony could. The judge listened intently, visibly affected by Micah's courage. Each word shattered the false image Trevor and Lena had tried to maintain. The truth was finally emerging, and the atmosphere shifted in Marcus's favor when Marcus's lawyer presented the collected evidence. Trevor's confident expression began to fade. Screenshots of text messages showed clear manipulation, emotional pressure, and intentional interference in Marcus's family. Financial records revealed Trevor attempted to control Lena by managing her expenses and limiting her independence. Their communication history exposed his role in pushing Lena to abandon Micah entirely. The courtroom reacted with shock at the level of influence Trevor had exerted. The judge's tone changed, now far more serious and direct, signaling a major shift in the case. Trevor's polished appearance and rehearsed charm could no longer hide the truth. Everything he had built his defense on was collapsing rapidly before everyone's eyes in the courtroom. After reviewing all evidence and testimony, the judge delivered a decisive ruling. Marcus was granted full custody of Micah, recognized as the parent who acted in his child's best interest. Lena and Trevor were ordered to undergo investigation for abandonment and emotional endangerment. As court adjourned, Marcus took Micah's hand, feeling a mix of exhaustion and relief wash over him. He had fought battles overseas, but this battle for his son's safety felt even heavier. Yet he walked out knowing he had protected what mattered most. Micah looked up at him with trust, and Marcus knew their future would finally begin to heal. In the weeks that followed, Marcus focused entirely on rebuilding a sense of safety for Micah. He enrolled both of them in therapy, determined to address the emotional wounds left behind. Slowly, Micah began speaking more, laughing again, and sleeping without fear. Their days were filled with small routines: breakfast together, evening walks, and bedtime stories that stitched their bond back together. Marcus created a warm, stable home where Micah felt protected and loved. The tension and suspense that once consumed their lives gradually faded, replaced by hope and steady healing. Marcus finally felt grounded again, ready to move forward as a devoted father. Many soldiers return home expecting peace, only to find their families broken in ways they never imagined. Silent betrayals, emotional manipulation, and abandonment often hide beneath polite smiles and closed doors. Marcus's story reflects the sacrifice, loyalty, and strength so many service members carry silently. His journey reminds us that battles aren't always fought overseas, some take place in our own homes. If you're watching this, take a moment to honor those who serve and protect. What country and city are you watching from today? Your voice matters, and stories like this deserve to be heard everywhere.